Hello, I think the Boris situation is possibly now getting completely out of hand, and I've misjudged it. I, I've allowed my wishes, which are that a decent backbencher should come forward and take over from Boris. I've allowed that wish to dictate how I interpreted the Partygate scandal. So what's happening now is Boris is becoming an international figure of fun. There was always that possibility. And I think at the beginning of his premiership, Boris was wrongly advised to straighten up. I think he should have continued to be this figure of fun, but very difficult to do that in the face of a major world catastrophe like COVID. So there were problems. I think if Boris had been in a position where there was not a major world catastrophe, maybe he could have continued. In the circumstances, I think in straightening up, he's emerged as somebody without any content, without any substance. And that's extraordinary because I know that Boris does have content. I was, for example, when the last election, I was at the election with his sister and his father, and with Roy Stewart and some other MPs and people, and Piers Corbyn. I mean, these are sound, serious people. Actually, they're serious people, and I think Boris is fundamentally a serious person, but he's made buffoonery so much a part of his character that when we took that away, a hollow was left in its place. And so yesterday, when Micheal Gove was presenting his levelling up a white paper, which I think was shoved together so quickly, it really is fairly insubstantial, and I'm afraid Rishi Sunak's proposals today are a little bit more substantial, but they still don't go all the way. I don't think these things are enough to save Boris's premiership, or even to put a pause on the disaster now. But yesterday, this man, Micheal Gove, was talking, and behind him there was a man with a red banner with white writing on it. And I remember watching this on television thinking, what is that? And there it is, now we know. Get your Johnson out of our democracy. Extraordinary, very entertaining really. Get your Johnson out of our democracy. So Micheal Gove was levelling up, and Steve Bray, who was the man responsible for the Johnson line, was dumbing down on College Green. And that was here. When Boris went over to the Ukrainian papers were asking, why should the international community take your diplomacy, Boris, seriously when you are so preoccupied at home? And they were right to ask this question. They were right to ask this question because their president was a comedian and made that transition successfully from comedy to being a serious man on the world stage, Vladimir Zelensky. A serious man on the world stage, and Boris has not made that transition. But in Russia, I mean, I was chatting to some of my Russian friends, and Boris is being pilloried in Russia. In fact, the Ukrainian crisis is hardly mentioned in the newspapers. What is mentioned in the newspapers is Boris's efforts to promote the Ukrainian crisis as a solution to Partygate. They say Boris is mounting is provoking Russia. Boris is stirring up anti-Russian hysteria to distract from Partygate. In the main Russian television station, Rossiya 1, the state-run media channel, only anti-Russian sanctions can distract from Johnson's protracted Partygate, they say. NTV, I've had my own run-in with the NTV channel, which was now also taken over by the state. Claimed that if it were up to the Prime Minister, this is so shocking, they claimed that if it was up to the Prime Minister, Sue Gray would now be in the Victorian sewers under Parliament. I mean, incendiary stuff. And libelous, really, and shocking. And shocking. But they feel they can get away with it because Boris has become a character who is insubstantial on the world stage. And Boris did very well in the Ukraine. Boris appeared at least on television during the press conference. He appeared very well, but he should have been doing this weeks ago. He should have been ahead of the story rather than playing catch-up. Playing catch-up never works. In Russia, Boris is called the most disliked, disrespected and ridiculed character in Britain, completely under the heel of his young wife. It's just astonishing. So this is the news which is being peddled, not the fact that there are so many troops, so many Russian troops massed around the Ukrainian border. I'm very worried about the way Partygate has become more significant, not only in this country but also internationally, than the serious threats to global peace, the serious threats to our fuel supplies, the serious threats to our future have been, Partygate has consumed so much energy. And anyway, there's my update. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm looking a little unlively. I've not been terribly well today, but anyway, please subscribe to the channel, and please ring the bell. And I look forward to hearing your views on particularly Steve Bray's banner, which I actually got me giggling. Yeah. Get your Johnson out of our democracy. It's not a bad line, is it really? It's not a bad line.